Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. This video is about the Pittsburgh Synagogue shooting. Just a couple of days ago, there was a bestial attack at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pennsylvania, and 20 people were shot, 11 of whom have died. Of the 9 who are wounded, some of them may yet succumb to their injuries. So there was a circumcision ceremony had gone on, and there were worshippers in the temple, and a white man burst in and opened fire, shooting for about 20 minutes. So that was that. Later a suspect surrendered to a SWAT team. Well, the Second Amendment did not keep the people in the synagogue safe. You might have said, but they had no armed guard, almost as though it was their fault. Now, the assailant, he shot 4 police officers, including 2 SWAT guys, or SWAT women, I don't know actually. So if there had been an armed guard who wasn't expecting anything, he could easily have shot dead that armed guard. The police and the SWAT teams, they arrived there knowing that there was a shooting going on. They arrived there with weapons already drawn. Even so, he managed to kill them. So an armed guard would not have made the difference. Just like at that Florida school shooting, there was an armed guard. It didn't prevent a dozen children being shot dead. So it just shows you how ineffectual the Second Amendment is in that respect. And the mass murderer's weapon of choice, an assault rifle, was used, as well as 3 handguns. Supposing handguns had been outlawed and this man couldn't get his hands on a handgun, he would still have been able to kill people, not so many. Supposing there were restrictions on how many firearms somebody could have, how much ammunition, or a massively high tax on ammunition, he would still have been able to carry out these slayings, but he wouldn't have been able to kill so many people. He wouldn't have been able to keep up his attack for 20 minutes. So it would have saved, at least 1 life. So I don't jump to conclusions. A man has been taken into custody in relation to this, who is a white nationalist, who's an outspoken enemy, and I use the word advisedly, enemy of immigrants, legal as well as illegal. He particularly targeted the Tree of Life Synagogue because it's associated with the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and he thought that Jewish Americans were assisting the caravan, these people from Honduras and Guatemala and so on, who are in Mexico. In Mexico. They're not in the United States. They're not 1,000 miles from the US border. So now it's true that the suspect, and let's not assume that he's guilty. We'll leave that to a trial. It's true that the suspect is not a Trump supporter, but he does agree with Trump on certain issues, thinks that the caravan is an existential threat to the United States, that it's terrible that an invasion is going on. And what happens when there is an invasion? People resist. They really resist. They fight back with weapons. They kill people. And when he's been told an invasion is happening, when his president has told him an invasion is ongoing, he believes it. He believes it's genocide when there isn't. He actually goes to commit genocide. So words lead to action. And Trump, well, what a wordsmith he is. He's seen this again and again. Obviously, he doesn't care about American people who are victims of murder. He's incited violence at his rallies, encouraged people to beat up protesters. It's happened. They've been beaten up. Trump carried on doing it. Now, nobody actually got killed at his rallies. It might happen. People could start beating someone up and go a step too far and accidentally kill the person. So, like Trump labels journalists enemies of the people. What happens to enemies of the people? What should happen to them? I know what a lot of people think, and many Trump supporters, I'd say most Trump supporters, are in favour of the death penalty, as Trump is himself, and for crimes less than murder, and for minors. There was that notorious case about 30 years ago where Trump took out newspaper advertisements saying that 4 black boys, and I do mean minors, and 1 Hispanic boy should be executed for rape. Not murder, rape. A crime that they were proven not to have committed. The DNA evidence proved that it wasn't them, based on the sperm sample taken from the victim. And despite that, he continued to publicly insist that it was them. They ought to be put to death. Put yourself in the position of those children. Imagine you're a boy who's been accused of a crime you didn't commit, a particularly heinous offence that would see you banged up for years, even though you're a minor. How terrifying would that be? How much more petrifying would it be if an extremely rich and influential businessman with such a media profile called for you to be put to death? And that is exactly what Trump is like. Reflects very badly on the Clintons, on, let's say, Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, people who used to be his pals, who knew precisely what a sort of person he was and were chums with him anyway. only in the last few years have they turned against him. So anti-Semitic memes have been going around. I don't think Trump is personally anti-Semitic. Jewish people are probably the only ethnic minority he doesn't actually pick on, maybe because he's related to them by marriage. But there's this hostility which is towards George Soros, which is encouraged by the Trump administration, and you see what's happened as a result. So Trump has most certainly provided the moon music for this murder, and he doesn't care, and it's entirely to be expected, I'm sad to say, and it's going to happen again. I wish it didn't happen again. So that's that. As for the man who has been charged with all the crimes in relation to that, yeah, I don't jump the gun, no pun intended. Let him have his trial, despite the absolutely watertight case, as far as I can see so far. I think it would be the ultimate challenge for any defence attorney. How are you going to claim he's not guilty, or that he acted in self-defence? Kind of thing the Saudi Arabian consulate would say.